Hello and welcome to this year's edition of Kindergarten Roundup for 2013, right here on CPHS 6. Our guests are Jennifer Tyndall, the Director of Pupil Accounting and Exceptional Children, and Tracy Blake, Supervisor of Exceptional Children. Welcome back.
Hello. Thank you.
We did this last year for the first time, and it was a real learning experience. How did it come about, the idea to have one centralized kindergarten roundup rather than going to each of the individual schools on different days?
The district was looking for a new way to deliver Roundup, and they were modeling from other districts in the county as well as in the state that offer a centralized Roundup process rather than the individual buildings.
How much work was it to set that up for the first year? If anybody hasn't been here, I kind of look at it as almost like a home and garden show when you walk in. You have different booths, you have different opportunities to learn things. How difficult and how much work did it take to set that up for the first time?
It was a lot of work. It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of volunteers from each of the individual buildings. We had a lot of parent volunteers. We had volunteers from different departments in the school district, and it was just a lot of getting those organized and set up, and once it was set up and ready to go, it was very successful.
Mr. Willeen had asked us in December last year, and so we started immediately on the fast track in December, starting to put together what the layout would look like for the first annual Roundup that would be centralized. Going into year two, we kind of could breathe a little easier because we lived it the first time. So we knew that we were going to kind of be seamless with offering the similar process again for year two.
How many people did you have through last year, and what were your expectations in December when you started to set this all up?
Well, you don't know what you don't know until you live it. And we met over 500 families that came through Roundup over 8 days. We had some agencies that were able to be a part of it. And now going into year two, we have even more agencies that have expressed interest that weren't able to be a part of it or have heard about it and want to join. So I imagine the gymnasium this year will be even larger in regard to the Community Resource Center.
I'm a parent. I am going to show up with my kindergartner. I walk in the door. What happens?
You're going to go through several stations. When the families enter, they're greeted by our Welcome Center where they sign in, and then there's different stations that they go through. The parents have a registration center, and that's where they'll have to bring their paperwork, including the birth certificate, shot record, and 2 proofs of residency. And then the children walk through several centers. They're going to walk through one center where they're going to work with some kindergarten teachers and do some early literacy activities. We also have a playgroup center, and we have a snack center. And then the families can walk through our Parent Resource Center also before they exit at the end of Roundup.
Again, if I walk in as a parent, should I be pre-registered?
You can make an appointment. You should make an appointment through calling either the phone number 810-984-3101, and the extension is 4066. Or they can register online, and that website is jgardner1@phasd.us.
Okay, and we'll repeat that near the end so that anybody that might have missed it. Again, you talked about you come into different stations. Tell me a little bit more about each of those stations. You talked the literacy with the kindergarten teachers. What are the teachers looking for in terms of the parent and child?
And the teachers are giving the children an opportunity through play to work on, kind of to demonstrate their knowledge of letters, write their name, their knowledge of numbers. They're also going to be in the play center. They're going to be looking at those social skills and just interacting with those students. And for some students, they'll be okay by themselves to go into that center and be very comfortable with those teachers. And for some students, their parents will need to go with them. They're a little more shy at this stage.
Some of our parents are, when they arrive, they're separated from their student right away. The parents will go to the registration table and begin the paperwork process of enrollment. And usually what we observed last year, a lot of the 4- and 5-year-olds immediately separated from their parents. However, for those that this is a new experience, perhaps they haven't had a previous separation from mom or dad, or sometimes grandma or grandpa are bringing them to Roundup, it's okay for the parent to stay with their child as they go through each center.
Have you had the opposite happen? where the parent doesn't want to separate from the
Yes.
child?
Absolutely.
And that's okay too.
We try to, at Harrison, set it up so that the parents are always near their child. They will understand they're provided with a card of all the different centers that they have to go throughout that course of their appointment. And the parent will always kind of know and gauge where their child is, especially if the child is, bye, see ya, I'm going to the play center, or I'll see you at snack. And then we offer parents the opportunity to go through the resource center where they can learn about the programs at the YMCA. They can learn about the curriculum by our curriculum department and what is expected for a kindergarten student. We also have a Scholastic book fair that the parents, if they'd like to pick up some items for their children while they're waiting. So we kind of try to meet all the different needs of all of our families through those days.
What are the dates for this year's kindergarten roundup?
April 22nd through May 1st.
Is that about the same amount of time as last
8
year, about 8
days.
days? Are there any changes? Last year it was done by certain school on certain day. Is it going to follow that format again this year?
Nope, this year we're not assigning individual buildings to an individual day. It's any day, no matter what building that you attend.
So probably even a better idea to get registered ahead of time so you
So
don't show
far
up
we
and all
have-
500
yeah.
show up on the first day because
And we have
nobody signed
130
up.
appointments already scheduled, so.
And how long is the appointment process? Is it just a matter of calling the number you gave us earlier and name,
Yes.
address, phone number?
And once they sign up, then Jeannie will, our secretary will send out a packet of information, kind of like, here's the next step, here's what you need to bring with that appointment date and time on it.
We also have a link on the website, the parent guide for kindergarten roundup, kind of what to expect for your first time through roundup, questions and answers with respect to transportation, or what does the open house look like, because there will be a later time where the families can go back to their home building or the building that they perhaps are going to receive schools of choice to visit and meet the actual teachers of the building. But our principals and our kindergarten teachers will be a part of roundup, and the families will have an opportunity to meet the principals. They'll have an opportunity to meet some of the kindergarten teachers that may be staffed in those buildings the following year.
How will one of the parents find out what day is the day to go to the open house at their school?
When they leave Roundup, when they've gone through, as Jennifer mentioned, they're going to have a card with all the stations. When they've gone to each of the stations, they'll go to the exit table, that's the last station out, turn in that card, and they'll be given a save the date card that lists all the buildings and the dates and times of the kindergarten open house.
Again, what are they going to need? You mentioned the kindergarten packet that Ms. Gardner will send out once somebody registers. What kind of information is required when they do arrive for the day
They
of their
have to
appointment?
bring their child's original birth certificate, a shot record, and 2 proofs of residency. And we will have the health department at Roundup should they need help with the immunization record.
Also, if they've had their child had their vision and hearing screened already and they won't need to participate in that center or station for that day, they can bring that information to demonstrate that their child had both vision and hearing screened already. That would be extremely helpful.
What would be if you look back at last year, the biggest glitch in terms of parents not bringing something or not having documentation prepared? Was there one thing that kind of became more of a problem than?
The important piece is making sure you bring 2 proofs of residency and the original birth certificate. If a parent, we had some parents that did not make an appointment, so they just showed up, which is okay. We'll still invite them in, they'll still go through, and if they don't have the information, we'll kind of give them what they need and where they need to bring it to, so that they're not turned away and that they're given some guidance so that they know what they need to bring at a later date.
How long can a parent and child expect to be there?
About an hour.
But I think it can be longer, depending.
If you didn't have an appointment, you might have to wait a little bit longer to get through, especially if they had needed hearing and vision. But most parents and families were about an hour to get through the stations. And then depending on if they wanted to spend more time in the resource center, that would be in addition to that hour.
That was where I was going. I remember some parents kind of lingering, or they get to the Scholastic book fair, and they end up spending 20 minutes or a half hour there filling out their list. Others kind of do the walk by and see what they've got and keep on going and make their way around and out the door. but it's really neat. Do you have a setup in mind this year as to what they're going to encounter in the resource room as they make their way around? Again, I picture it as, in my mind, it's kind of like the home show. You go to different vendors who offer
Kinda what it
different,
looked like,
Yep,
yeah.
yep.
different services or products. Do you have it set so you kind of
It
walk
will
us
look
through?
it will look similar, where we'll have the book fair, and then we'll have the individual tables with the different agencies. A couple new agencies will be joining us, for example, the fire department and the police and sheriff department will also be joining us. So we're really excited to actually have them available to address any needs in regard to safety for our students. We'll have that on site this year. Also, if parents want to bring their own cameras or their iPhones with the camera on it to take pictures of their child, a lot of parents said, oh, I wish I would have brought the camera so I could have taken their child's picture next to Clifford or on the
Clifford
school
will be
bus.
back.
He will be
Clifford will
back.
be
All right.
We are very grateful. Our Harrison students that are at the alternative high school have been exceptional with wanting to volunteer and be a part of Roundup. And most of the time that Clifford is usually one of the students, and we are very grateful for the support that the Harrison Center provides us during those days.
What other kind of things do they help with? I know they can't do the vision or hearing or the literacy assessment, but what other types of things do the students from Harrison help with?
They helped in our snack center last year. They also were in our play group and read books to students, played games with students, and they also helped in the Parent Resource Center, manned some of the stations like the Scholastic Book Fair. They sold popcorn last year.
Please, not again. Every time they fire that thing up, I just was, oh no, here we go again. I'm going to have to go buy another bag of popcorn.
Yeah, and they're very excited. They've already been asking. So they're very excited to be a part of it again.
We also have board members that also become involved during the Roundup time that our families will also see appearing. Sometimes our board members will work some of the stations. Mrs. Sheets is already signed up to be a part of the snack table. And others will float in between to meet with families and greet them and welcome them to the district as well.
Do you need additional volunteers at this point?
Yes.
Yes.
How does somebody go about doing that? But first, I better back up. Does somebody have to volunteer for every day, all day?
No.
For the entire
If
period?
you can only volunteer one day, a half a day, an hour, we'll take whatever.
We have a job for you.
Yes.
What kind of jobs can somebody expect to volunteer for or be assigned to?
We need help at the Scholastic Book Fair. We need help haul floaters, just those that are helping to direct families to the different centers. Any type of volunteering with the Welcome Center, registering families, and they can contact us through that same phone number or email. if
Why don't
they
you give
want
the
to.
phone number and email again, just
Okay.
so we repeat it a couple times before we wrap up?
And the phone number is 810-984-3101, and it's extension 4066. And then the email address is jgardner1@phasd.us.
If someone calls or emails, what kind of turnaround time is it before they hear back? Parents are, a lot of them, this is the first time going through this, and they're nervous, and they want to have everything now, so they know what to do. With 130 registrations already, there's got to be a little bit of a delay, so people have to understand that there may be other people in the queue ahead of them.
Right, we've had a high volume.
Jeannie's done an excellent job, actually, meeting the turnaround time. I would say every day she's making contact with a family. So within even a 12 to 24-hour turnaround period, she has made contact. And it's important to know, too, that for any family that sees this show today, if you aren't able to commit to an appointment, to know to just come to the Harrison Center during those 8 days. The receptionist at the administration building would be able to direct them on how to get there, because obviously Tracy and I and Jeannie will all be at Harrison for those 8 days, so just in case someone catches us at a later date.
How many registrations did you have last year? Pre-registrations, do you have a ballpark idea?
We're running right now pretty close to, at this time last year, we were at about 120. So we're kind of in step with where we were last year.
And you ended up with 500 families coming through.
Yes, yes.
That's quite a gap between what you kind of were expecting and what actually showed up.
Yeah. It'll get busier as
Yeah.
March continues to roll on and part of April. We have had the information on the website for a couple months now, but families don't begin thinking about school until it gets a little bit closer to springtime. So with the weather changing, and we'll have some district advertising throughout the community and the radio station, that will start, the calls will increase greatly.
It sounds like it's going to be exciting and it's going to be fun and it's going to be informative. Is there anything else about the event that is going to change this year? You probably don't get a lot of repeat parents.
No.
That there's a 1 year
Right.
gap between
Right.
children, so this is going to be new to a lot of parents.
Yes.
But are there things that are going to change after last year? You said you were pretty pleased with the way everything went last year, even though it was the first year.
We're staying pretty consistent with what we offered last year. We've already started discussing year 3 and possibly making some adjustments with a theme. But at least for the first 2 years, we have more agencies that have expressed involvement this year, which we can't express enough how grateful we are for that. So we're just kind of riding the consistency road at the moment, just to 1 more year, and then stepping back and possibly changing the theme. The feedback that we got was stay the course.
Why Harrison?
It's a nice building. It's in a perfect location, centralized for the entire district. We are not in the school section of Harrison, so many families need to know that they go in the back side of Harrison where the parking lot is. We will have signs, but it's the newer wing of the building where the elementary school used to have their kindergarten, first grade classrooms. The layout is feasible, and it doesn't disrupt the other buildings, their school day, and the student learning, so it works that way.
If I remember correctly from last year, if you park near the school bus, you will be
You
able
will
to tell
find us.
the direction,
Yes.
the pattern of flow of foot
Parked by the
traffic
playground.
heading into
Right.
the building.
Yes.
Will the bus be back again? I should have
Yes.
asked
Yes,
that
it will.
question before I said park by
Yes.
the bus.
Yes, it will.
We're going to add another sign, and we'll have the signs throughout the school grounds pointing with the arrows. The only thing we could hope for would be that the weather will change and it'll be more spring-like.
The bus. The kids actually get to get on,
They
sit in the
certainly
seat.
do.
Will there be a bus driver there to talk to them, or is it just a tour of the
It's just a
static
tour
bus?
Of the bus.
That's got to be scary for some of the little ones, and probably for mom and dad putting them on a bus that first time. We talked about the separation anxiety as they get in the building. That could really start off the first day as kind of traumatic.
Some of the children last year, I noticed in my observations, they went to the bus first before they came into Roundup.
Oh, it's probably like an amusement park ride.
So it warmed them up, or they went to the playground because we had nice weather last year, so they were able to go on the playground first, and then they came in. We try to encourage that when you leave Roundup, you go to the school bus for your pictures, and you can, climb all over the bus, sit in any seat that you want, and just take your time. We don't want parents to feel rushed. We know that some parents take time off of work to spend that morning or that afternoon with us, and we understand that some parents are unable, and they sometimes send an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent. So we try to accommodate everyone's needs those days.
If it's an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent, do they have to have any different documentation than if the parent showed up? You talked about the shot record, the birth certificate, 2 proofs of residency. Does that grandparent, aunt, or uncle have to have something indicating that they are indeed the student's guardian for that day?
It would be extremely helpful that they inform when they call to make their appointment that grandma so-and-so, and that the parent even have a letter with their signature stating that my mother or my father by their name will be accompanying our child on Roundup, just so that we know.
I hadn't even thought of that until you mentioned that sometimes somebody can't get off work for
Yes.
that day.
Yes.
You earlier discussed that next year is going to maybe grow a little bit more. Do you foresee a day when you don't have room at Harrison?
Oh, gosh. I don't know where else we would go right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I look at the district and our 17 buildings, and I'm not sure what building could accommodate what we offer at this point. I hope we can continue to stay at Harrison, and it's the most conducive. Access to the gymnasium, the restrooms, the drinking fountains, the number of classrooms, the ability to have like a flow where you go in one door and you exit another. So we are constantly able to monitor where our students are, where our families are, and keep kids and families close together during that whole time. It's rather intimate in that respect. So.
The resource room, which is the gymnasium, there is still room to expand in there.
Yes.
You can get more displays.
Right.
And you talked about the fact that there are more people, more groups, agencies interested this year. What prompted that interest in them? How did they hear about it? Was it the success of people that were there saying to them, hey, you ought to be here? Or what kind of reasons do you have that more people are interested this year?
I think one of the things we were able this year, we started planning a little earlier. We were able to get those letters out earlier, and that was really a positive for them. And then we had there was an article in the newspaper in the Times-Herald last year, and I think that was another big push. People saw that, saw the pictures, read the article, and they started talking about next year. So in the beginning of the year, we even had some people call and say, "Are you still doing centralized roundup this year?" So we were really happy with that.
Is it like, I keep making the reference to a home and garden show or sport show or tool show, is there a charge for booth space?
Absolutely not. Nope.
And how does
All volunteers.
they call, again, the same
Same
number?
number. Yep. If
Okay.
we haven't contacted anyone that wants to have a booth there, they just call that number or send an email, and we will provide a table.
Is it too late to get involved in this year's if somebody sees this and?
Nope.
And the important thing too, 8 days is a long time for one agency to commit to, and some agencies will let us know we'd like a booth to have a display board with handouts. We won't be able to have an individual sitting at that table every single day, every hour. So we're accommodating in that respect as well, that some booths may just have information only, and they may have a point person there during certain hours. We're okay. That's okay too. And some booths have someone there
All 8 days.
all manned every day.
Last year, I think there were rotating individual schools because it was done on an individual school. On the day that school was scheduled, they had their table set up with their
Yes.
information. This year, it's not a day set aside for each individual school. Are the schools still going to be represented in terms of booths in the resource room?
For their PTAs, yes, yes.
Do you get a lot of PTA involvement?
We did. We had some PTA members that not only volunteered to work the resource center, but they also worked within the rest of Roundup. Each building principal was asked to provide their PTA contact information, and the expectation will be that each table will be present with a PTA board or information. Again, doesn't always mean that someone will be there, but what our PTAs did last year, which was really nice, they each had like the science fair display boards. They put together what they do at each building and had some pictures and some of the programs that the PTA offers. So that is one of the expectations that we'll see again this year.
I can't think of anything else that I may have neglected to bring up. Is there anything that you think we should talk about to remind people that this is coming up? Be ready, call and pre-register. Anything else about Kindergarten Roundup that I may have neglected because I just went through it for the first year last year myself?
I think it's important parents register and they get their documentation ready. If they need any assistance in understanding the process or they have any questions that we haven't answered in today's show or on our website, they can call Tracy or I or talk to their building principal if they have children already enrolled in the district. The other piece that Tracy will speak to would be the waiver that's changing with the kindergarten age.
Thank you.
For this year, for students entering kindergarten in the 2013-14 school year, they would need to be 5 by November 1st.
How is that different from what it's been?
Last year, prior to this upcoming year, it was December 1st. So the law has changed. Those children need to be 5 by November 1st.
Is that just so they're a month older and a little more maybe prepared? Or why would they change it by 1 month?
Well, they're going to stagger it out over the next 3 years. So they're going to increase, the Michigan Department of Ed has looked at the age requirements, readiness skills. Some parents choose to hold their babies that are born in the September, October, November birth dates a year. Some choose to do preschool programs, and then they're the older 5-year-old in the kindergarten class. So next year, like Tracy said, you need to be 5 by November 1. Then the following year, which would be the 14-15 school year, 5 on or before October 1. And then the following year, which is the 15-16 school year, it's 5 by September 1. Parents have the option, though, to sign a waiver with the district if they would like to go back to the December 1st birth date and have their child who's 4 enroll in that will be turning 5 by December 1. So it's kind of confusing the way that it's stated, but we're going to have information available on the website, and that also will be explained at Roundup. We'll have information available, materials for parents if they were to choose to keep their child home or choose to consider their late 4, early 5 coming to school a little earlier.
So this is only a 3-year schedule.
Process.
So it's
Yes.
not like somebody will be 16 by the time they register for kindergarten because they keep
No.
backing it up
Right.
a
We won't
month.
have to give them
Just the
parking
next 3 years.
spaces.
All right, I thank you very much for coming in. Can we get the phone number and website one more time?
Sure. 810-984-3101, extension 4066. And then the email address is jgardner1@phasd.us. And we should mention too that every child that goes through the Roundup will walk out with a free Portland Area School District t-shirt.
Nice.
So those will be given out when they exit Roundup.
If someone doesn't get registered for whatever reason, is there a better time to come to Roundup? Is it busier on the first day? Again, this year it's not by school, so is it something to think, maybe wait till a couple of days are underway and you wouldn't face a delay?
The only time that I would recommend that they would avoid would be like the 11:30 to 12:30 time. That's usually the lunch break time for the teachers and for the community agencies and the health department. Tracy and I will be there, but for them to get the full experience and have all of their needs met, we would just encourage that they come during the scheduled times between 8 and 3. But
All right.
avoid the lunch period.
Okay, again, thank you. Jennifer Tyndall, Director of Pupil Accounting and Exceptional Children. Tracy Blake, Supervisor, Special Education. Thanks for coming in, and we'll look forward to this year's Kindergarten Roundup and then next year to see how it changes even more.
We'll see you there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us right here on CPHS 6 as we take a look ahead at the 2013 Kindergarten Roundup. We'll see you there.